When Ackman returned to the Attorney General's office to talk about Farmer Mac, the tension rose again. The lawyers turned their attention to Ackman's comments in his research report on Farmer Mac, which suggested the company was funding long-term assets with high levels of short-term debt. "Where are you getting your numbers to show what % of the company's debt is short-term?" Pierre-Louis wanted to know. "And how are you so sure the company's loans are, in fact, long-term and illiquid? What would happen to your assumption if, in fact, these various assets, the investment securities, the Farmer Mac guaranteed securities, and the loans, which you referred to by definition as illiquid and long-term, were not, in fact—" "If they were liquid and short-term, then I would be wrong," said Ackman. "Then you would be wrong? But they are not liquid and short-term. They are illiquid and long-term. Look at the filings, the company's public statements," Ackman said. "Look at the terms of the farm loans it carries on its books. They're not 1-week loans." Ackman's frustration was boiling over, leading Aaron Marcoux to ask to take a break, but Pierre-Louis said no to that. "I am not done asking my questions." "We are going to take a break," Marcoux insisted. Pierre-Louis was not happy. "Despite the fact we are in the middle—" "I don't want to take a break," Ackman interjected. "We are going to take a break," Marcoux said. "I don't want to," said Ackman. "All right, fine," Marcoux told him. "This is your life." "What else can I tell you?" Ackman asked Pierre-Louis, sounding more composed. They returned to the business of the 10Qs and 10Ks, trying to piece together how Ackman determined that Farmer Mac had a large percentage of long-term assets being financed with short-term debt. Pierre-Louis wanted to know exactly how Ackman arrived at his number. Ackman said he'd need a copy of the Farmer Mac filing he'd used when putting together his report. Someone called for a calculator. When Marcoux jumped in with a suggestion, Pierre-Louis snapped at him, reminding Marcoux not to make statements that could be seen as leading his client. Marcoux couldn't let that one pass. "Perhaps you have noticed that Mr. Ackman does not follow my instructions much of the time," Marcoux said. "It's below 1%. It's perhaps below 0%. "If my lawyer would be quiet, I would give my answer," Ackman said. Pierre-Louis wanted to know about a type of financial guarantee Farmer Mac offered called a long-term standby purchase commitment. Ackman had criticized the guarantee, saying it carried the greatest risk with the least adequate compensation of all of Farmer Mac's lines of business. Under the program, Farmer Mac promised to buy individual farm loans out of a pool of loans designated by a bank. The arrangement allowed the bank to hold loans on its balance sheet while transferring the future risk of default to Farmer Mac. "These obligations have a risk similar to CDOs," Ackman said. "Midwestern farm banks have the same incentive as Wall Street firms to transfer their worst assets to someone else. The loans Farmer Mac is obligated to buy aren't newly issued loans," Ackman explained, "but ones that have been around long enough for banks to figure out whether they're at risk of going bad. Banks then make the questionable loans subject to the Farmer Mac standby purchase commitment and can put or sell their loans to Farmer Mac at any time, not just if the loans default. If the banks get nervous about Farmer Mac's financial position," Ackman said, "they might exercise their put options en masse rather than risk losing the protection if Farmer Mac fails. That would leave Farmer Mac with the obligation to fund the purchase of a huge portfolio of loans in a short period of time. Without the resources to buy and hold the loans, Farmer Mac might be forced to sell the loans in a short period of time, leading to likely losses. It wouldn't take much of a discount to wipe out Farmer Mac's equity," Ackman said. "That's how risk turns into catastrophe.